Hey everyone, hope you're all doing great. Welcome back to the Anime Fictions 2.0. Today, we're diving into another exciting What If Naruto Doctor of Demons. Part 2. Hurry, watch Part 1. If you're enjoying these alternate timelines, make sure to hit that subscribe button, share it with your friends, and check out the other videos on the channel. And of course, drop your thoughts in the comments. I always love hearing your ideas. Alright, enough talk, let's get into the story. Humans and demons. He was losing. The realization galled Kadaki. Slowly but surely, he was being ground down. Bit by bit. Piece by piece. What had begun as a battle of attrition with Naruto had swiftly shifted into something of a running war throughout the manor, one Sakanji found he couldn't keep pace with. 6 strikes swept in at his head in half as many seconds. He barely managed to block a third of them. The rest hammered through his guard to bite into his arms and legs. He fought back for every wound, and yet despite his defiance, the blasted blonde braggart wouldn't stop smiling. Indeed, he seemed amused by it all. The tides had turned. The odds were no longer in his favor. He couldn't kill him, because he just didn't have it. Yet still he fought on. Why? What point was there in fighting a losing battle? An uncertain feeling gnawed at him. He wondered what it was. What's wrong? Naruto dodged a sweep and thrust an open palm out, shoving him some distance away. I thought you had a little more spirit than this. Such arrogance. His blade flitted out and found itself stopped by a single finger. Well, would you look at that? Naruto considered his clipped nail. You pass as a nail chipper, at least. This couldn't be happening. Demon slayers were strong, Hashira even more so. Yet here he was, being batted about as if he were a mere novice. He thought himself immune to pride, that it wouldn't matter if a demon shrugged off the best he had to offer. He could always retreat and try again, return with superior numbers. He'd done so before with no shame. And yet now, a heel hammered his ribs, breaking 2 and fracturing another. Kadaki hurtled back, hit a wall, kicked off it with a roar, and launched himself back at the master of the manor. Naruto met him with a grin, and battle was joined once more. To his chagrin, he found himself mirroring the monster's madness beneath his mask. Parry. Riposte. Sweep, leading into a lunge. He soon lost track of it all. It should have galled him to enjoy himself in battle against a demon. Instead, it humbled him. Even in his prime, he still had much to learn. And he would continue to learn. Like a sword sharpened over time, so too would he hone his skills. Even now he was growing stronger. Learning, as he danced on death's edge. And in learning, he wished to impart these skills to the next generation. Because you see, he wanted to win. Alone. Not with superior numbers, but by his own skill. Win. Survive. Triumph. He didn't want his life to end here. That's it. That's the look. Naruto pivoted away with a grin, baring his fangs in the low light. Are we having fun yet, Kadaki? The clash of steel was answer enough. There it is. A squad of slayers rushed through the forest. I can see the manor ahead. Hurry! Support the Hashira. Their purpose seemed clear enough, their mission of the utmost importance. Once it became clear who they were facing, reinforcements had been sent from headquarters. Pity they'd never arrive. Susumaru stepped out of the brush, grinning from ear to ear. What do we have here? She clapped her hands, reveling in their startled faces. Reinforcements? Naruto didn't mention backup. How many of you? Her head tilted, taking each of them in. 10? 20? More? I don't suppose there are any Hashira with you. Their silence was her answer. Well, that's boring, ladies. Spring the trap. A web burst from the brush to block their path. 3 women emerged from it. Run away, run away, run away. Oops, that's right. You can't run anymore, can ya? Such a pity. Guess that means this is the end of the line for you. Some of the slayers managed to draw their blades. It availed them not. Blood flew through the air. Bodies hit the floor. Some in pieces. You don't seem to understand. Susumaru granted them a death's head grin. There will be no reinforcements. They'd taken his leg. Jigoro Kawajima spared a baleful look at the splinter of his left thigh and heaved a sigh. No matter what happened here today, his days as a Hashira were over. Oddly enough, the thought didn't trouble him. It was a small price to pay, really. Had been a second slower back there, he would have lost his arm and most of his ribcage besides. By that reckoning, the loss of a limb was a small price to pay. Or so it should have been. He was losing blood rapidly. Worse, his foes were closing in. What's wrong, old man? Mukago hoisted her prized leg high, brandishing it like a baton, and bit into the ankle. A deep bite tore strips of flesh free. She swallowed and granted him a bloody grin, crushing the rest in her grasp. You were talking all that good shit a second ago. Then I tore your leg off. Where'd that bravado go? He could ask her the same thing. Where had that tiny, terrified girl gone? How had she transformed into this tall, terrifying, gorgeous creature? Daki grimaced beside her. Yikes, you're scary when someone flips your switch. Still, you have a point. Balancing himself on one leg, Jigoro steadied his breathing and readied himself for a final strike. He lacked the strength for anything else. One slash. One kill. He'd at least take out one of them before he went down. He had to. He must. To give anything less than his all would be a disgrace to the core. Seriously, Daki prattled on, we should knock you out more often, Mukago. Your other side's actually dangerous. Quiet, you. There. They were distracted. Thunder breathing. Second form. He was on them in an instant, his only passing a crackle of light. They had no time to react. Mukago was cut clean in half. Daki crashed backward, head flying from her head and one of her arms besides. Jigoro landed atop her, blade poised for stab down and obliterate her skull. For some reason, beheading didn't seem work on her. In that case, had to destroy the head. Hey! A childlike wail tore out of her, startling him. That's no fair. You cheated. Cheater. A bead of sweat ran down his brow. I beg your pardon? I fought you fair and square. Then you pull a stunt like that? Unfair. Unfair. How are you still talking? Jigoro grunted and drew himself upright. No, never mind that. I cut you apart. Why aren't you dissolving? Old man. You'll be a puddle when I'm through with you. Oh dear. Seemed her companion had survived as well. She looked livid. Indeed, Mukago was already rising, but slowly. Even a demon needed time to regenerate after being cut in half, surely. You've ruined everything. This was my chance. My moment to look good for Naruto. Daki's fist hit the ground, body thrashing as she threw a tantrum beneath him. Everyone will laugh at me now. It's all your fault. Die. You can just die. His sword flashed up. Stabbed down. Daki saw it and screamed louder still. Brother! Jigoro scoffed. As if calling aid would change anything. Perish! A gray hand closed around the Hashira's throat. Squeezed now, half crushing his windpipe. Pain blossomed in his throat, and he lost his grip on his sword. Urayang? A fist thundered into Jigoro's head. Darkness swept in. Their battle ended not with a bang, but a sigh. Urokodaki felt cold claws bite into his collarbone and tear downwards. Even as he twisted aside, he knew what would transpire. He accepted the mortal wound for what it was and slammed his heart into the blonde's chest. Nichiren steel pierced his heart and burst out his back. It was, by all means, a powerful blow. A human would have perished on the spot. Even a demon should have felt some semblance of pain and flinched for it, enough to open them up to a follow-through blow. Not so Naruto. He grunted in pain, grinned, snapped the blade and followed through with his devastating cut. Sakanji's left arm sailed through the air, tumbling end over end, severed at the shoulder. He watched it numbly. There was no pain. Not at first, or even panic for that matter. Here and now, in his final moment, he couldn't bring himself to feel anything but grateful. It had been a good fight. Better yet, he'd been allowed to keep his sword arm. He would die with honor. Ah. There it was. The pain he'd expected. He staggered, grasping his wound with one hand, still trying to cling to his sword. You did well to last this long. Naruto's figure swam in and out of focus before him. You have my utmost thanks. Praise from a demon. Urokodaki took some bitter pleasure in that as he leaned against his blade. He'd never met one who lauded his achievements so thoroughly. Cutting his head off didn't work. He'd landed that last blow out of spite and little else. If he was to die here, he would at last die memorably. He was exhausted, his body drained. An ache in every bone, a promise to die alone, his soul left to roam. Live or die, Urokodaki? Naruto stalked forward, hands dripping blood. This is your last chance. What'll it be? Blood flowed behind his mask. You already know my answer. He expected anger. Disappointment at the least. Bastard kept smiling. Your sword is broken. Bright eyes roved over him. You're missing an arm and bleeding out. He reached up, plucking the broken blade from his chest. Even so, you still want to fight? Knowing you'll perish? The world was going gray. He didn't have much life left in him. But he would not yield. I shall live and die as a human. You know, I may be a demon now, but I was once a human too, just like you. Naruto snapped his fingers, conjuring a current of wind to his free hand. I still believe in the potential of humanity. Those gentle blue eyes must have sensed his confusion, because his smile grew. We are demons, yet we are not demons as you know of them. We live. We have families. Children, too. I should introduce you to my daughter sometime. Miranjo is a darling little girl. She'd like you, I think. Impossible. Something is only impossible until someone does it, Urokodaki. The demon's hand closed around the Gale, stifling it with a twitch of his fingers. There are heights you have yet to reach, peak you're not even aware of. In that, at least, he could believe him. Let me see it, then, before I die. This so-called peak you speak of. Are you sure? A rare flicker of concern crossed his whiskered visage. Your heart might stop. Even so. All right. He closed his eyes. Took a deep breath. Open them again now. Have it your own way. There was something different about them. They were still a cat-like, slitted red, but they'd gained a sharpness that hadn't been there before. As he looked on, they began to glow. The air grew heavy around him. He didn't even move. Yet the pressure, his presence, only seemed to grow larger. Motes of golden light rose around Naruto's body, tiny embers giving birth to a raging flame. Black marks scrawled forth from his stomach and spread across his form, creating myriad patterns Urokodaki couldn't recognize. An unseen breeze whipped through the manor and blasted his robe back, bringing with it a sudden chill that shouldn't exist in such a season. Then he looked at him. Urokodaki felt his body lock up. It was akin to being plunged into cold water, no, as if the very air in his lungs had frozen. He couldn't think. Couldn't move. Couldn't even breathe. The being before him defied imagination. Behind him, the demon's shadow twisted into a monstrous shape, taking on the likeness of a beast with 9 tails. What was this? He knew he wasn't human, but this went well beyond a demon. Is this the extent of your courage? Naruto's granted him a wry grin, and for a moment, just a moment, he could have sworn something spoke with him. Kurama and I are still getting ready. What the devil was a Kurama, and why did he have a bad feeling about this? Doom, he realized. This was his end. Urokodaki tried to speak. A strangled gurgle fled from his mouth behind the mask. Raise your sword. Do something. Move. Naruto frowned. Then die. A fist slammed forward. Urokodaki saw a giant fox behind it. Heard it roar. His life flashed before his eyes. And there at the end. Death. No! His head shifted an inch to the right. Miraculously, the blonde missed. Or perhaps he changed course at the last moment. Clawed fingers swept past just short of caving in his face. The air around him ruptured in every direction, yet somehow the slayer found himself spared. His mask split on either side of his face and fell to the floor, the twin halves clattering harshly. His knees jointed a moment later as he collapsed to the ground. A thin rivulet of blood ran down his forehead, a shallow cut carved by the wind pressure. He suspected it would scar. Well done. The self-proclaimed doctor drew back, wearing a bemused look as he gazed down at him. It's been a while since someone survived that. How does it feel to overcome your fear? A hand settled on his shoulder. You did well to avoid dying of shock, and I can see why. Deep down, you want to live. You want to survive. Pass down your skills to the next generation. Urokodaki tried to speak. He only managed a weak gurgle. Everything had grown so dark. He'd seen beneath the mask, glimpsed the warrior lurking behind this foolish facade. This creature was a terror. He professed to be a man of medicine, a healer, a doctor, but he was so much more than that. He'd seen the summit of the mountain, and only now did he realize just how far he and his fellow slayers had yet to climb. And that one wrong move would bring the avalanche crashing down on their heads. The others. They had to be warned. Or that's how I see it. And then this demon lord was gone, leaving Naruto the jovial jester once more. Well, I suppose I should finish up here. The Hashira closed his eyes and braced himself for the killing blow. It never came. Laughter rose in its place. You pass. Ha! A hand set itself to Urokodaki's ruined arm, and then there was pain. He looked down, alarmed to find his arm jutting from the bloody tatter of his sleeve. He'd been healed. His M given back to him? But why? What did he gain by perpetuating this farce? It didn't make any sense. He'd already lost so much blood. What is the meaning of this? I'll tell you when you wake up. Naruto drew back, set a finger to his wounded forehead. For now, I'll have you sleep for a bit. It was too much. The spirit was willing, but the flesh was weak. His body crumbled. His sword fell from his fingers. He heard 3 words before sleep claimed him. On to the next. His blood burned. Shinjiro could sense the change overtaking him in his mind's eye. Hear his heart pounding in his ears. Feel his wounds close. See the veins pulsing in his arms. Strength. Power. It overtook him slowly, crawling into every cell, slowly burning his weakness away. It was everything Akaza had promised him and more. He'd become twice thrice as strong as he'd been. Perhaps more. He who had been on death's door only a moment before, now felt as if he could tackle the entire Slayer Corps alone. He rebuked himself for such arrogance a moment later. Mustn't lose focus. He'd given in not for greed or power, but for his family. Ruka. Kaijuro. Senjuro. So long as he could live, so long as he could keep them safe. Then he would happily fall to the darkest of depths. This wasn't the end of him, or his resistance. After all, he'd agreed to be turned, but he hadn't sworn his loyalty to this Naruto, nor his clan. With his newfound strength, he just might be able to. Feels good, doesn't it? Shinjuro's head snapped up. He found Akaza stalking his way away, grinning like the cat that caught the canary. There was something tucked under his arm, a parcel of some sort wrapped in dark cloth. His keen senses caught a whiff of blood on the air. Once, it might have made him sick. Now. Hunger. His throat went dry and his head ached, an awful red haze falling over his vision. Shinjuro tried to beat it back, even succeeded in part, but it was there now, gnawing at the back of his mind. Like an itch he couldn't scratch. He found a hand twitching toward it and gripped that wrist with the other, reeling himself back. Here you go! It landed at his feet with a wet thud. He didn't have to guess what it was. He already knew. Don't worry, his comrade granted him a grin. That bit came from a band of bandits we massacred yesterday. It's fresh. Dig in. Shinjiro did, much to his shame. He couldn't help himself. He tried to pretend it was something else, pork perhaps, not human flesh. Nevertheless, the morsel satiated him, and the haze receded. See? Akaza plunked down beside him. Ain't that better? What of my family? He hated how weak he sounded in that moment. You're welcome to go back to them, once you've got your hunger under control. Easy. Too easy. What was the catch? How long will that take? Couple of weeks. Or months. Might even be days. His sire shrugged. We had a baseline, but apparently it varies from demon to demon. Turned one girl a while back and she wasn't hungry at all. These days she only eats once a month or so. Takes time to find out. But you'll have plenty of that going forward, now that you don't have to worry about the sun. You're mad. Shinjiro glowered at him. Your kind cannot go out in the sun. Our kind. Akaza poked him in the chest. You're one of us now. And yes, we can. How? Guess you could say we're built different. Shinjiro's jaw popped open. He closed it again with an audible click. Surely this one spoke in jest. Demons perished in daylight. Everyone knew that. It was critical knowledge and pivotal for their hunts. A demon who could walk under the sun, utterly indistinguishable from a human. The thought terrified him for more than one reason. They'd never know the difference until the enemy was upon them. If he told the Corps, they'd kill him on the spot. He would be forever compromised in their eyes. But if he didn't, that meant he could visit his family as he saw fit. You're assuming I won't just betray you. Akaza grinned. You won't. How do you know that? Because you won't. Shinjiro sprang upright. A hand clamped down on his shoulder. Sorry, I can't let you leave just yet. Akaza's smile was just a little too sharp for his liking as he reeled him in. You don't have full control of yourself just yet. That grip remained firm in the face of his struggles, all but holding him fast. If we let you go as you are now, you might lose it and go on a rampage. Boss doesn't want that sort of thing to get traced back to us. Quite so. Shinjiro bridled as new voice spoke behind them. Akaza let him go and he pivoted, new heart racing in his chest. It was the man from the manor. He beheld the blood staining his robes, none of it his own. Anguish twisted in his chest. He was weak. He'd given in when temptation reared its ugly head. Urokodaki and Jigoro were strong as only veterans could be, rigid and unyielding. They would have fought to the end. Death before dishonor. He knew that. Even so, their absence pained him. You. Me. Naruto spread his arms wide with that same smile he always wore. Seems you made the right decision after all. Red eyes swung to his right. Good job, Akaza. How'd you pull it off? The brawler grinned and clasped both hands behind his head. What can I say? I made a compelling argument. You made a donut out of his chest, didn't you? Maybe. Shinjiro grit his teeth. My fellow Hashira. Where are they? The master of the man pivoted to face him. Your comrades have been dealt with. Those words threatened to shatter them. His throat closed. He went for his ruined blade. You killed them? From a certain point of view. Naruto thumbed his chin. I suppose you could say I killed their ideals. Would that answer bring you peace? It did the opposite. Not knowing, the uncertainty of it all. It gnawed at him. He found no help in Akaza. His part done, the brawler seemed content to stand by and let things play out. Damn it. Damn him. Damn them all. A muscle jumped in his jaw. His pulse quickened, heart quickening with rage. Urokodaki and Jigoro had been his friends. Comrades in arms. If they were truly dead. No, they surely were. He could not allow himself to hope here, for to have hope and lose it would surely break him. Tell you what. The elder demon saw his anguish and settled into a low stance. If you can get past me as you are now, I'll let you see them. His words only further stoked the fires of his rage. Their corpses, you mean? Naruto didn't answer. The silence hurt more than words. Shinjiro steeled himself. Drew his ruined blade once more. He could do this. He was strong now. He could win. Or barring that, escape at the very least. Clenched knuckles barreled into his face with impossible speed, shattering his thoughts like brittle glass. One punch and his newfound strength abandoned him. The world went out like a light. He pitched backwards into agonizing unconsciousness. And he heard those fateful words. Welcome to the family. A/N scene. Did Urokodaki and Jigoro live? Did they die? Suppose you'll find out next time. Credit to those who figured it out, Mikago is similar to Zenitsu. Knock her out and she goes through a transformation of sorts, becoming older and far more aggressive. Well? Did you like it? Yeah or nay? Gotta let me know, you know. As ever, the Ember's rule persists. If folks don't like this tale, then I'll not continue it. I can't bear to write something folks don't like, and working 2 jobs on a near back-to-back basis leaves my energy at an all-time low. So by all means, speak up. Raise your voice. Make yourself heard. Reviews are the fuel that sustain me and my team in these darkened times. So in the immortal words of Atlas, review, would you kindly? No previews. I haven't the heart for them. I'm so very tried these days. No, I'll still try. I have to try. Previews. I would like to propose an alliance. Between the 2 of us? All right. I'm a reasonable guy. Go ahead. Naruto sat and crossed one leg over another. Convince me. Tamayo hid a smile behind her hand. My. Do be careful. You're getting me riled up. I wish to request some leave. That's fine, 10th. Did you want to go somewhere? He glimpsed a faint smile upon the shadowy figure's face. I intend to look in on my legacy. You poor thing. He patted her head. You suffered all this time. It was hard, wasn't it? It hurt, didn't it? But it's all right now. Why, you ask? Because I am here. Daddy? Oh, there's my little girl. Up you go. She climbed atop him, laying scorching kisses across his neck. I want a baby. Oi. I already promised Susumaru a kid. You can't just go making demands like that. Out of the blue. His words trailed off as she rolled her shoulders. Her kimono lost its battle with gravity, and fell at last, exposing her bosom to his wanting eyes. Well, you make a compelling argument. Newzen scowled, veins pulsing in his face. Foolishness. Zenitsu screamed. Nuh! A demon! Mikago screamed right back, just as terrified. A slayawayer. What's to stop him from taking over the world? Besides the fact that he doesn't want it? His family, for one. The first spark. I wish to request some leave. Color me surprised, 10th. Naruto looked up from his handiwork, ink brush still in hand, seal left incomplete as he craned his neck back over one shoulder. What brought this about? His gaze fixed on a shadowy corner of the room. If one were so squint, they could just make out a humanoid silhouette. You're usually not the sort to wander about like this. And rightfully so. Tenth's face might have faded from recent human memory, but their legends still endured to this day. They were rather well known, so much so that they seldom went out anymore. When they did, they took great pains to avoid being recognized. Yet for them to suddenly ask for leave. He found himself curious. Setting down his brush, he turned to face his comrade fully. Did you want to go somewhere? Our recent intrusion has left me nostalgic. He glimpsed a faint smile upon the shadowy figure's face. I intend to look in on my legacy. He didn't miss the faint note of longing in their voice. You needn't worry. I won't be gone for more than few weeks. Ah. Naruto could understand that much. At the end of the day, family trumped everything else. Shame you won't be around when the prisoners awaken, but that's probably for the best. Indeed. A faint chortle pierced the gloom. I have your permission then? As if you had to ask? He sprang to his feet. Come here, partner. The 10th stepped out the shadows, allowing him to glimpse the sword in their sash. Together they clasped hands. Do go easy on these Hashira, Naruto. They know not what they do. He grimaced. That depends entirely on them. And, well? The 10th tilted their head. And? What the family has to say. Daddy? Miranjo leapt at him. Oh. Naruto caught her without fail, sweeping her up into his arms. There's my little girl. Up you go! Papa, stop! That tickles! Tamayo watched the scene with a fond smile, and hid a smile behind her hand. My. Do be careful. You're getting me riled up. And he was. Whenever she saw him holding their daughter like that, it made her want more. More and more. Little Miranjo could never replace the family she'd lost so long ago, but neither would she judge her by those she had lost either. She was a new chapter in her life, the second act of a story that had only just begun. And she found herself quite eager for another chapter. Sweetie, she cooed, why don't you go play with your cousins? Miranjo pouted. Are you and Daddy going to make kissy faces again? Naruto, bless his simple soul, tried to offer an excuse, a distraction to ease their daughter's confusion. Well, it's more like. Tamayo had no interest in such, and so planted a hand over his mouth. We are indeed. Who knows? We might even give you a younger sibling. A pause. Those lively red eyes brightened. Can I have a little brother and a little sister? Naruto nearly choked on his own spit. Eh? Tamayo simply smiled. Certainly. But only if you leave right now. Their daughter fled with a delighted shriek. I can't wait to tell Uncle Akaza. Tamayo waited until Miranjo was gone. She prided herself on her patience. She even went so far as to count the seconds. 1, 2, 3 now. And for each second she savored the moment, rather, what was to come. It wouldn't do to scar their dear daughter after all. Yes. 3 entire seconds. That was precisely how long it took for her only child to scamper away. Tamayo took a deep breath to steady herself. Now then. Then she rounded on her husband and shoved him. Hard. Credit where it was due, Naruto caught himself. He was stronger than her after all. He only staggered a single step. Not so the second time, when she pushed him down to the bed. That time, he let her. He tried to rise and she silenced him with her body and her lips, biting fiercely as she pinned him down. That was cruel of you, she hissed between kisses, keeping me out of the battle. He grinned up at her, favoring her with another good-natured smile. Wasn't my intent to hide you away like that, you know? No? She climbed atop him, laying scorching kisses across his neck. Then you can repay me. I want another baby. His face paled. That wasn't a joke. Ha! Victory! This time her smirk wasn't entirely feigned. Oi! He laughed as she straddled him. I already promised Susamaru a kid. You can't just go making demands like that. Out of the blue. His words trailed off as she rolled her shoulders. Her kimono lost its battle with gravity, and fell at last, exposing her bosom to his wanting eyes. Not satisfied with simple silence, Tamayo undid the clip binding her hair and tossed her head to one side, smiling triumphantly as her dark tresses spilled free. He always did like her with her hair down. She went a step further and tugged her arms free of her robe, revealing herself fully to him. A spark of desire burned in his eyes. She would see it become a raging flame. Please? She stroked his cheek with a pale hand. Didn't you say you wanted a large family? Sure enough, Naruto changed his tune right quick. Well, you make a compelling argument. Reality came back in fits and starts. Urokodaki first felt it as a series of sharp taps at the base of his neck, supple fingers tap dancing lower now, crossing the length of his battered spine. Cool to the touch, almost achingly so. His eyes snapped open and he found himself arching his back with an angry hiss despite it all, trying to turn and face his tormentor. He did not succeed. Rather, he couldn't succeed. Much to his chagrin, he found his limbs bound, not by rope or chains as he initially feared, but by some unknown spell. Bright scarlet tethers held him fast, trapping his arms to his side, and his ankles against one another. Not enough to harm or otherwise hurt, but hampering him all the same. He grit his teeth and struggled against them to no avail. His binds held. Worse, they constricted snugly when he tried to flex his muscles. A blood demon art, then. Unfortunate. By some mercy or design they'd left this head unbound, enough so that he could love his neck. Raising his head did little to lift his hopes. His surroundings were blessedly bare beyond the cot in which he found himself. He could see his sword stowed in the corner. A single sliding screen door awaited him at the end of the room. As he looked, unsaid door slid open. A girl poked her head through, bright red eyes framed by dark hair and a tentative smile. Said's smile brightened the moment she saw him. Hey, mister. Are you awake? It was such an innocuous question, spoken by a pure child. Urokodaki couldn't help but answer. Yes. The girl bobbed her head, then ducked back to look at someone he couldn't see. Papa. He's awake. Good girl, Miranjo. A familiar voice cooed behind the screen. Go see your mother. K. The child scarpered and the sliding door opened in its entirety. Urokodaki's blood ran cold at the sight of the figure standing within. There he was, looming before him, smiling softly. Sleep well? Not going to talk, eh? Naruto hummed a little. Fair. 3 swift strides carried the demon into the room, another brought him directly before him. A hand grasped him by the chin, forcing him to look him square in the eye. Let's get you out of those things, eh? He turned his head and called back toward the still open door. Miranjo. With an almost musical chime, the blood bonds binding Urokodaki's body shattered. His very soul bristled and he tore free of the man's grasp. What did you do? Naruto let him be as he stepped back. Nothing. Yet. Urokodaki eyed his sword in the corner of the room. If he could reach it. What, exactly, would change? He had fought Naruto to the fullest. Every trick. Every trap. Every technique. He'd used it all and been found wanting. How ironic. He thought he stood at the peak, the pinnacle of strength, only to realize there were heights he had yet to reach. In this moment, he felt every bit the rookie he'd first been when he first chose his sword all those years ago. You feel it now, don't you? The blonde saw his hesitation, sure enough, and his smile gained a bemused edge. Fear. You're welcome to try again if you like. But if you do, I'll have to kill you. For real this time? The old slayer grit his teeth. I am aware. But demons do not change. They are destroyers through and through. Oh yes. Naruto's nod startled him. I know very well how the promise of power beckons so sweetly. It's a terrible thing to be consumed by your own strength. He held up a clawed hand, letting golden light dance off his fingertips. I've seen people lose themselves to it before. Friends even. All for power. It whispers to you, tells you can do all sorts of things, if only you had more. Power. Just a little more and you'll never feel weak again. Power. His hand closed into a fist, snuffing the flame out. But at the end of that road, I chose a different path. I found healing. I found hope. I found love. And with it, family. The words stirred something in Urokodaki. He didn't want to listen to it. But the feeling persisted. Family, huh? Yup. The Doctor of Demons chortled softly. You really are more honest without that mask of yours. I can see it on your face clear as day. My demons are different. They will always be different. Anyone who tries to follow Muzen's way is no demon of mine. How about it then? Wanna join me? He offered him a hand. Come on. Let's be better. Not just for the sake of our children, and for all those young warriors yet to come. Urokodaki glanced toward his sword once more. Dying here served nothing, only hollow pride. He'd had a harsh lesson carved into his body today. Strength alone was not enough. A true slayer must have wit, charisma, fortitude. If he could but survive, he would do his best to pass those lessons on to the next generation. His days as a Hashira were truly done, he realized. He'd pushed his body to its peak, yet found himself wanting. Perhaps it was time to look to the future. Do not ask me to betray my comrades. I will not. Wouldn't dream of it. The demented doctor smiled. Loyalty always matters, you know? Urokodaki fell silent for a long moment. Took a deep breath to steady himself now. I would like to propose an alliance. Between the two of us? All right. I'm a reasonable guy. Go ahead. Naruto sat and crossed one leg over another. You're welcome to convince me. But first, let's see what your companions have to say. Urokodaki blinked. What? I already talked with them both beforehand. You were the last one. What did they say? Naruto's grin was telling. Would you like to know? It was a test. He knew it was. But he could hardly say no now, could he? The Hashira found himself nodding. Yes. Naruto breathed. All right then. Nothing simpler. He clapped his hands. A drum echoed in the distance. And then, quite suddenly, Urokadaki Sakanji found himself somewhere else. A/N, wish this could be longer, but alas, I was rushed. Well? Did you like it? Yeah or nay? Gotta let me know, you know. As ever, the Ember's rule persists. If folks don't like this tale, then I'll not continue it. I can't bear to write something folks don't like, and working 2 jobs on a near back-to-back basis leaves my energy at an all-time low. So by all means, speak up. Raise your voice. Make yourself heard. Reviews are the fuel that sustain me and my team in these darkened times. So in the immortal words of Atlas, review, would you kindly? No previews. I haven't the heart for them. I'm so very tried these days. No, I'll still try. I have to try. Previews. Ouch. What did I say about biting? Power, no. Drop him. Kane choked on her blood. Such an ignoble death. She didn't want to die. Not here. Not now. Not like this, not before saying goodbye. A shadow fell over her. She reached up for it. Shinobu. Someone held her hand. That hand? Didn't feel like Shinobu's hand. Bright eyes stared at her in the sunlight, framed by shaggy blonde hair and whiskered cheeks. Wanna live? You think to warn me? You dare. This ain't a warning. He tossed the torch over his shoulder. It struck the tarp and burned it away. Sunlight snarled through. This is a war. Harder, she tilted her head back with a gasp. Yes, yes, yes. That's the spot. Naruto palmed his face. Well, that sounds all kinds of lewd. He knelt before the snowy graves, placed his hands together, and bowed his head. I'm sorry. If I'd just been a bit faster, you might still be alive. A hand burst out the snow and grabbed his ankle. He quirked a brow. Ho! Someone burst out the grave and tackled him down, snapping and biting at his throat. She was wild. Strong. Starving. And reckless. He pulled her into his arms. You poor thing. He patted her head, uncaring as the poor wretch thrashed in his arms. You suffered all this time. The newborn demon screamed and bit his shoulder. He let her, clamped a head down on her head to hold her in place. It was hard, wasn't it? She screamed and tried to eat him till, thinking he was a human, utterly ignorant of the blood flooding her mouth. It hurt, didn't it? Losing everyone like that. I can't imagine the kind of pain you're in. But it's all right now. Why, you ask? Because I am here. Her eyes shone with tears. Kill me. I will not, dear girl. Makago blinked. A slayer. Zenitsu blinked back. A DD demon? An ominous silence stretched between the 2 cowards. And then the screaming began. Hey, old man. I have a pet. Daki, that is a human. Not a pet. Nah, she's mine. I saved her, she swore herself to me. Makes her mine. You gonna make her a demon or what? Tell you what. All of you. Hit me with your best attacks. It won't work. As 2 of you well know. You still don't realize the difference between us? He tooted softly, shaking his head. All these breathing styles. They're adorable. I have a style of my own, perfected through years of practice. Nonsense. A demon couldn't possibly. Void breathing. A cold plume of air steam fled from the blonde's lips as he exhaled. 9th form. Red eyes glazed over, taking an eerie, almost blank quality. His hand swung up. A bear of purest black light rose with it. Slam down now. Mujetsu. Learn your lessons. Jigoro Kawajima was not a man who frightened easily. Even down a leg and bleeding badly, he knew he would never fight properly again. Even assuming he survived this day, he did not fear the icy touch of death as most demon slayers would. He didn't know where he was, where he'd awoken, but that didn't matter either. He was the Thunder Hashira, a pillar of the core. He must not falter, even in the face of death. Such was his duty. If he was to die here, then so be it. His had been a long life. Long enough, some might say. He had few regrets left in him. He would have preferred to die in his bed, surrounded by his pupils. To teach another generation of slayers, mentor the new bloods to come, raise up fine swordsmen and swordswomen in his twilight years. Instead, the art of thunder breathing would die with him. He would die here, to these demons, but he would die on his feet before the poison took him. Coughing wetly, he dragged himself into an upright position on his remaining leg, ready to face his end. Come! And then, quite suddenly, he heard the sound of a drum. He'd heard that infernal noise more than once since the raid. It had been that infernal racket which first separated him from Shinjuro and Urokodaki. Now, as then, the room shifted. No, that wasn't quite right. The world shifted. Reality turned on its head. One moment he'd been bleeding out in another of the demon's god's forsaken rooms. In the next, he was, quite simply, somewhere else. Rather than be transported to another room, he found himself staring up at the night sky. Gentle moonlight kissed his battered and bloody body. Baffled, he blinked through his dimming vision. Outside. Why in blazes was he outside? Was this a fever dream of some sort? One last happy moment before he succumbed to the vile toxins coursing through his body? Or perhaps... He coughed wetly. Is this heaven? Am I dead? I'm afraid not, a soft voice intoned behind him. The aging Hashira groaned. Kill me, then. Is that really what you want, old man? Yes. No, he refused to admit it, nor look at his killer. Cease your games and finish what you started. He closed his eyes, squared his shoulders, and braced for the end. It did not come. I think not. Against his better judgment, Jigoro opened his eyes. And in opening them, he finally saw. 3 men stood before him. He recognized Urokodaki and Shinjuro at once, though each refused to look at him. Because there, standing ahead of them. You've looked awful a rough time of it. Naruto knelt before him, smiling at him as he would one of his patients. I'll need to have a word with Daki and Jotaro. Mikago too. He tooted softly, as a parent might toward an unruly child. You weren't meant to lose a leg. A marked palm clasped his shoulder. Jigoro tried to tear himself free, to no avail. He lacked the strength. Keep away from me, demon! My name, the doctor tooted, is Naruto. And I will not. Let's deal with the poison first. Your leg can come later. Struggling availed him naught. Within a matter of moments the worst of his wounds were mended, the toxins cleansed through his bloodstream. He could only glower impotently at his foe, at the creature he refused to call this smiling monster human, who had just saved his life. Why? He rasped, unable to comprehend the absurdity of it all. Why save my life? Simple. He climbed to his feet, still smiling. I'm a doctor. I do no harm. Then what do you call this? That I cannot fix. He finished smoothly. These two, he gestured to the Hashira beside him, have already heard what I have to say and agreed to my terms. I'd like you to do the same. What nonsense! Clearly he was lying. Hashira would never agree with a demon. He had to, must be. Wasn't he? My brothers, is this true? Once again, Urokodaki and Shinjuro said not a word. The latter almost appeared ashamed for reasons Jigoro couldn't fathom. The Thunder Hashira shook his head and rallied. You are a demon! You cannot be trusted. And yet I've spared you. For some nefarious reason, no doubt. How about this? The merry blonde tapped a finger to his chin, red eyes gleaming in the gloom. Try and defeat me. I'll give you your leg back. If you manage to win, you can even keep it. But if you fail... Jigoro knew the implied threat for what it was. I'll lose the limb again. Tell you what. Hit me with your best attacks. It won't work, as two of you well know, but I'd like to see what your school is capable of. Arrogance. Such a challenge could not go uncontested. Do it then. I shall strike you down. Naruto's grin gained an edge. See? Now that's the spirit. He slapped a hand against his kneecap. Jigoro's entire body convulsed. Pain. Agony. Fire, blood. The aging Hashira felt rather than heard something burst from his ankle, the agony such that he nearly blacked out. Only an ironclad would kept him conscious. When he looked down, he found a fresh foot sprouting from the ruin of his leg, freshly grown, healthy and pink. Strong, too. He could stand upon it with ease, it felt powerful. Jigoro took up his stance. Prepare yourself. I shall show no mercy. The infuriating blonde abomination only laughed. I'd be disappointed if you did. Jigoro took a deep breath to steady himself, closed his eyes, and sheathed his sword. The demon made no move to interrupt. It seemed this young whippersnapper was as brave as he was foolish. He was by far the most experienced Hashira here. He would succeed where his brothers in arms could not. And so he lunged. This was his penultimate technique, faster than light, than speed, than even sound itself. Many a demon had fallen to it. Clang. Such an awful sound, like he struck steel. Baffled, he whirled and gazed upon a man of gold. Is that your best? Clad in blazing flame, the self-proclaimed doctor tilted his head and grinned down at him. Slow and old. You never should have taken my bargain. He held his arms out wide, as though to embrace him. Care to try again? Jigoro grit his teeth, stifling a snarl in his throat. A muscle jumped in his jaw and he could feel every vein pounding in his forehead. The second form, then. He'd cut him apart. Once more, his blade was roundly rebuffed for all his efforts. That's 2 tries. A golden finger wagged his way. 1 more and you're done. No choice then. Thunder breathing, secret art. Jigoro flashed past Naruto, raked his blade down, then up, lopping off his head before sweeping down to cleave his torso in half at the waist. His upper half struck the ground with a wet thud. Triumph soared in the Hashira's heart. There! He'd done it! Victory was his! Naruto's lower half spun and drove a heel into his sternum, while his upper delivered an elbow to the back of his head. Stars burst before Jigoro's vision, and he ate a copious amount of mud. He righted himself quickly. And took late. By the time he found his feet, Naruto had already reattached his head and his severed halves. And that's 3. You still don't realize the difference between us? He tooted softly at him, shaking his head. All these breathing styles. They're adorable. A rare peal of bitter laughter escaped him. I have a style of my own, perfected through years of practice. Nonsense! A demon couldn't possibly do such a thing. Void breathing. A cold plume of air steam fled from the blonde's lips as he exhaled. 9th form. Red eyes glazed over, taking an eerie, almost blank quality. His hand swung up. A bear of purest black light rose with it. Slam down now. Mugetsu. Jigoro threw himself aside. It saved his life, but not his leg. It vanished just above the ankle, annihilated with such speed that he didn't truly feel it, not at first. Then came the shockwave, bowling him down to the dirt. He righted himself frantically, fearing a follow-up attack. One that never came. There was no need for one, because he heard Urokadaki vomit somewhere behind him. Shinjiro made a choke sound of his own. That's impossible. Against his better judgment, Jigoro looked. He turned and saw it all. The forest was gone. Just gone. No smoking trees, no burning land, no smoke spilling into the sky. Just gone. All that remained was a mighty canyon carved into the earth, a deep dark abyss extending into oblivion. He couldn't see the bottom, couldn't even hope to fathom its depths. It stretched on for miles, a wound in the very earth itself. The Doctor of Demons had done this all in an instant. With but a single blow, he'd reshaped the very nature of the earth. Jigoro's very soul shivered in his chest. His mind babbled out a host of different words. Impossible. Immovable. Immortal. Invincible. If he was thunder, then this man was an avalanche. Once he began moving, there could be no stopping him. He couldn't be stopped. Cannot be stopped. Do you see now? For little words, and yet they had his head whipping back the blonde's way. I don't want to kill you, but I will if you make things difficult for me and mine. You can live in the new world I'm building. Or you can die in the old one. Make your choice now. Jigoro dithered. What choice did he have? Here at the last, he wanted to live. He only had a few more decades left in him, but he was almost startled to realize the truth, that he didn't want them to end here. He wanted to see the next generation of slayers, entrust to them his teachings. There was only one way forward. The only way out was through. At least if he lived, he might yet find a way. He knelt on his good leg and laid his sword down at his feet. I will serve. Great! Naruto clapped him on the shoulder and drew him up as if they were old friends. I knew you'd come around. Here, let me stop the bleeding. I do not wish to regain my leg. Doing so meant he would be expected to fight for him. He would never do such a thing. I ask only that I be permitted to live out my remaining days in solitude and train future slayers to come. I as well. Urokodaki chimed in just a little too quickly, betraying his anxiety. Granted. The doctor was all too happy to grant their request. With any luck, those you train might be more open-minded to my kind. Jigoro clenched his jaw. I cannot promise that. A wry smile. Not asking you to. Why did it feel like they'd just fallen into his trap? Had this been his plan all along? And you? Me? Shinjiro shrugged a shoulder. I wish to return to my family and continue my duties while I can. My wife is not well. If you could find it in your heart to treat her. A beat of understanding passed between them. Jigoro wasn't sure of what, and it concerned him greatly. Then you'll take responsibility for her? I will. So be it. He looked between the three of them. I'll say it again, I don't want to make war. But if your leaders do, they won't live to regret it. Jigoro knew some wouldn't take kindly to the news. Hashira lived to slay demons. Would any listen? Unlikely. Perhaps the next generation. Perhaps. Not everyone took the news well. It was to be expected, of course. Old habits and hatreds died hard. You're letting them go? Daki stomped a foot, brow writ with fury. Just like that? Naruto almost smiled at the sight. Almost. She looked fit to throw a tantrum. The fact remains that we have a traitor among us. Until we find them, we need to be careful. Jotaro scoffed at her side. None here would turn against you. Not willingly perhaps, but someone still did. We're changing locations. The sibling duo shared a miserable look between themselves. Ugh, we hate it when the house moves. So would the traitor, Naruto thought to himself. It was something to look into, something to be wary of all the same. For now all they could do was wait and see if their enemy would overplay their hand. And so time passed. Slowly at first, then with speed. Until, quite suddenly, a day of reckoning came. Kane choked on her blood. Such an ignoble death. Worse, she had no one to blame for it but herself. She'd made a mistake, been a hair too slow. Demons only ever needed mistake to kill you. If it hadn't been for the rising sun, she was sure she'd be a meal in the beast's belly. Oh dear. Her she didn't want to die. Not here. Not now. Not like this, not before saying goodbye. Fate, it seemed, was unkind. Most unkind. Was it not? A shadow fell over her. She reached up for it. Shinobu. Someone held her hand. That hand? Didn't feel like Shinobu's hand. Bright eyes stared at her in the sunlight, framed by shaggy blonde hair and whiskered cheeks. He hummed softly, helped her sit up, and bit his wrist. Blood flowed forth. Kane felt her eyes drawn to it, almost unbidden. And then the man spoke. Wanna live? A/N, Kane next chapter. Hope you enjoyed. Next chapter should be much longer. And with a faster update. Well? Are you not entertained? Did you like it? Yeah or nay? Gotta let me know for the update schedule, you know. As ever, the Embers rule persists. If folks don't like this tale, then I'll not continue it. I can't bear to write something folks don't like, and working 2 jobs on a near back-to-back basis leaves my energy at an all-time low. So by all means, speak up. Raise your voice. Make yourself heard. Reviews are the fuel that sustain me and my team in these darkened times. So in the immortal words of Atlas, review would you kindly? No previews. I haven't the heart for them. I'm so very tried these days. No, I'll still try. I have to try. Previews. Zenitsu screamed. A demonun? Mikako screamed right back. A humaman? You think to warn me? You dare. This ain't a warning. He tossed the torch over his shoulder. It struck the tarp and burned it away. Sunlight snarled through. This is a war. Harder she tilted her head back with a gasp. Yes, yes, yes. That's the spot. Naruto palmed his face. Well, that sounds all kinds of lewd. He knelt before the snowy graves, placed his hands together, and bowed his head. I'm sorry. If I'd just been a bit faster, you might still be alive. A hand burst out the snow and grabbed his ankle. He quirked a brow. Ho! Someone burst out the grave and tackled him down, snapping and biting at his throat. She was wild, strong, starving, and reckless. He pulled her into his arms. You poor thing. He patted her head, uncaring as the poor wretch thrashed in his arms. You suffered all this time. The newborn demon screamed and bit his shoulder. He let her, clamped a head down on her head to hold her in place. It was hard, wasn't it? She screamed and tried to eat him till, thinking he was a human, utterly ignorant of the blood flooding her mouth. It hurt, didn't it? Losing everyone like that. I can't imagine the kind of pain you're in. But it's all right now. Why, you ask? Because I am here. Her eyes shone with tears. Kill me. I will not, dear girl. Mikako blinked. A slayer. Zenitsu blinked back. A DD demon? An ominous silence stretched between the two cowards. And then the screaming began. Hey, old man. I have a pet. Daki, that is a human. Not a pet. Nah, she's mine. I saved her, she swore herself to me. Makes her mine. You gonna make her a demon or what? Turning a butterfly. Kane coughed. She absolutely coughed, choked on something in her sleep, then lurched upright gasping for air. Whatever it was clogged in her throat and left her to retch, gasping for air that wouldn't come. Her legs kicked against heavy blankets. Where had those come from? Thrusting them away as she thrashed her way into a sitting position. Air. She needed air. Needed. And then, quite suddenly, she found she could breathe. Forcing herself to swallow, she sucked in a ragged breath, clutching at her throat. It burned like the hottest fire, yet felt eerily cool to the touch. So why did it burn? All around her, reality reasserted itself. Bleary violet eyes blinked as she beheld her surroundings. In place of the wilderness where she lay what felt like only moments ago, she now found herself in a traditional sort of Japanese room, just the sort one might see back at headquarters, complete with a sliding door and tatami mats. Someone had tucked her down into a cot of sorts, which explained the covers. Was that why her body felt so hot? Surely that was it. The next thing she felt was hunger, raw and visceral. Starving. Must eat. Needed to eat. Why was she so hungry? Whatever it was, it made the burning in her throat all the worse. She rubbed at it with ragged fingers to no avail. It persisted, leaving an awful ringing in her ears that threatened to swallow her whole. Hey, you're finally awake. Kane's entire body jolted and she absolutely whirled. Someone sat cross-legged beside her. She'd not noticed him until this very moment, such was his lack of presence. You. Belatedly she recognized the blonde from before. She remembered him well enough. He was the one who'd held her as she was dying. Wait. Had she died? It felt like she'd died. This couldn't be the afterlife, could it? The whiskered warrior saw her confusion and offered her a small, slight smile. How are we feeling? On a whim, she flexed her right hand, curling her fingers into a fist. Veins jumped just beneath the skin. She felt strong. Powerful. Alive, in a way she simply had not been before. Even now she could hear her heart beating in her chest, feel power pumping through her blood. And hunger. She'd been distracted from it for a moment, but now it returned tenfold. It gnashed and gnawed at her, eating her stomach alive. Belatedly she realized it was this very hunger that had awoken her. She choked on it and awoken. Now it tore at her still. Why was she so hungry? How long was I asleep? Her nameless savior tooted softly. Only 3 days. 3. The word escaped her lips in a raw rasp of sound, leaving her to massage her neck with a wince. Throat hurts. You must be thirsty. Here. He offered her a metal flask. Drink. Kane accepted it warily. What is it? Does it matter? He rolled his eyes at her pensive expression. Come now, I'm hardly gonna poison ya, not after all the trouble I went through to save you. Who are you? Naruto. He offered her a winning smile. We can talk more later. Go ahead and drink. Kane drank gingerly. Sips at first, then deeply when no adverse symptoms manifested. Whatever it was, it tasted strangely sweet, enough to slake her thirst but not her hunger. If anything, it sharpened it. Sweet indeed. Very sweet. The awful burning in her throat began to recede and she took some solace in it. A strange emotion seized her then, overpowering her. She ripped the flask from her host's hands with a snarl. Tilted it back now, drinking deeper still, all but guzzling the contents within. A bit of fluid splashed forth on her lips and ran down her chin. It was red. What was it? Sake? Wine? Was wine that red? She didn't know. Something told her she didn't want to, a pang of dread that curdled deep within her as her thirst ebbed. The flask fell from her fingers, dripping one last crimson drop upon the floor. Kane refused to look at it. All around her the walls seemed to press in, making the room feel small. All right, she marshaled her flagging resolve. Calm. Calm down. Deep breaths, now. Sure, she could do that. She could be calm. She wasn't calm at all. What's the last thing you remember? The question damned her, and he didn't even realize it. Her mind worked sluggishly to reassess the situation, trying to piece the puzzle together. She was alive, out of danger, yet strangely hungry. Her wounds were healed and she had slept for some time. What did that mean? Prevaricating was pointless. She knew what it meant. What she'd done. What she was. What she had become. Because, you see, Kane remembered. Wanna live? His bloody wrist offered to her. Her lips latching on. Drinking deeply, supping of that sweet poison. Hunger snared in her stomach anew and shattered the memory. Kane clutched at herself, trying to smother it. A hand touched her forehead, knuckles brushing her brow. Bit of a fever, but that's to be expected, given what you went through. She turned horrified eyes on him. You're a demon. I am. And drank your blood. His head bobbed. Yes, you did. Which means. She wilted, shrinking inward on herself. I've become a demon, haven't I? You have. Here. This might help. As she looked on aghast, Naruto tugged back his robe, exposing his neck to her wanting eyes. She felt her pulse quicken at the sight of flesh. She could see his jugular vein, hear the pulse pounding in his neck. Her mouth salivated, her tongue flitted out to lick lips that were suddenly terribly, horribly dry. It made her wanted to bite him. to sink her teeth into his flesh, rip and tear and feed. HRNGH? No use, though she slapped a hand to her face in a vain attempt to curb it, her craving persisted. What is this? You're a demon. And newborn demons, Naruto's voice rang in her ears with an almost paternal quality. That is to say, humans freshly turned by me are usually a starving, insensate mess. They lose themselves to hunger or lust. Sometimes it takes them weeks, if not months, to recover their wits. But every few hundred years we get someone like you, who not only retains their wits, but manages to resist. A hand came up under her chin, lifting her head even as the other peeled her palm away from her face. You're a very rare breed of demon, Kane. She glimpsed his fangs as he smiled at her, soulful red eyes staring into her violet orbs. You're going to be exceptional. She slapped his hand away. I don't want this. Turn me back. He didn't take offense, damn him. There is no way back. The only way out is through. I never asked you to turn me. No? He tilted his head and she found herself thinking of an inquisitive fox. If you didn't want this, you wouldn't have drank my blood when you were on death's door. He held up his wrist, now fully healed. I didn't do anything. I offered, and you bit me to the bone. She had. She knew she had. She knew it, and that made it worse. A pitiful sound pushed past her lips. I'm a monster. You are not. Naruto flicked her forehead, drawing a startled squeak from her. As I said, you're not one of NeonZangetsu. You still have your sense of self. Your memories. Your identity. You're just starving. It'll pass once you feed, as all things do, and you'll feel much better. Kane looked away, unwilling to meet his gaze. And if I refuse? You'll grow weaker and weaker, until you finally snap and pounce on someone. He shrugged a shoulder. I've seen it happen before. It's not pretty. When she didn't answer, his smile faded away at last. Would you rather I left you there to die? You'd be leaving Shinobu behind. His burning blood ran cold. How do you know her? What have you done? Nothing at all. A hand waved her down. I didn't read your mind, if that's what you're worried about. No, the truth is simpler than fiction. You talk in your sleep. From there, I made an educated guess. Kane gnashed her teeth. I'm not a demon. You are. He patted her head as a bemused father might their wayward daughter. Don't worry. We'll get you sorted. And then? She expected demands of fealty, loyalty at the least. Instead, that winning smile flashed forth once more, disarming her doubt. You're quite welcome to go back to your sister if you want, but I'd ask you not to breathe a word about this to anyone. If that's too much for you, he held up a finger to still the words already forming on her lips, I can either make you forget about me. That or kill you, and frankly I'd prefer not to do either. Why? Did I save you? He read her question before she could. I've already dealt with 3 Hashira. Might as well go for 4. Besides, you have potential. It would be a shame to waste that, don't you think? Her heart sank into the pit of her stomach, clinging to one word above all. 3. You'll forgive me if I don't name them. He winked her way. She felt her throat close, and not from hunger this time. He couldn't have turned Hashira, spies or otherwise. Surely they would have noticed by now. Surely. Why should I trust you? Here at last, Naruto stopped smiling. Kane dearly wished he hadn't. She liked it better when he smiled. He did not scowl. Did not shout at her. Nor did he demean her with insults. He just stared at her, as though she'd said something incredibly stupid. Perhaps she had. But she needed to know all the same. She had to. Do you have any idea at all, what I could do? He held up a hand and she glimpsed a sphere of eldritch light cradled within, keening like a small storm. I could salt the earth and rule Japan, a king, no, an emperor. From there, I could spread out and conquer the entire world. No one would be able to stop me. His fist closed around the sphere, extinguishing it. But I don't want that. She gulped. What do you want? Coexistence. Understanding. If not that, then acceptance. None of which is possible with you, Hashira, trying to slaughter me and mine. He knew. Of course he knew. Why had she ever thought otherwise? Go ahead. He opened his arms. Eat. This won't kill me. Go on. She resisted. She fought it. She tried. She really, truly did. But it was just so hard. Everything burned and he was right there, offering himself to her. Let's say I agree. She hated herself for asking, hated the gleam of triumph in his eyes. What would such an alliance entail? Your interests would be my interests, and vice versa. I swear never to harm your sister or those you hold dear. That includes Kaneo. He blinked at her. I have no idea who that is. Kane described the girl to him at length. By the end he almost looked sympathetic. Poor girl. Swear you won't hurt her. He held up a hand. I do so solemnly swear. Don't mock me. I'm not. I keep my word to my family. Your family now? He had a point. She supposed she was, like it or not. What do I have to do? Nothing at all. He spread his arms wide. Just let go. Trust me. You'll feel much better once you've fed for the first time. Reluctantly, she did. Hunger crashed to the forefront of her mind once more. This time, Kane didn't resist. A red haze shimmered over her vision. She gave into it and pounced on Naruto. Her teeth sank deep into his neck as she dragged him down, all but mounting him. He grabbed her by the waist and drew her into his lap. Something sparked in her. Harder she tilted her head back with a gasp. Yes, yes, yes. That's the spot. Naruto palmed his face. Well, that sounds all kinds of lewd. Hours later Kane was sated and spent, sound asleep once more. Naruto gave her a bemused glance as he dressed himself. Voracious girl. She'd been insatiable. Still, she had spirit. Tamayo and Susamaru would adore her. Daki might take umbrage with her, but they'd get along in due time. After all, time was the one thing they had plenty of now, didn't they? He crouched down and delivered a quick peck to her forehead, drawing a pleased little noise from her lips. Adorable. It made him want to protect her. A knock at the door. He glanced toward it. Enter. It swept open even as he finished speaking. Sir. One of his men knelt before him, fist pressing to the floor, head bowed. You told me to bring any news on the matter we discussed. The family in the mountains. He perked up. Oh, them. Any word? How many are there? Are they related to our friend? The man gazed studiously at the floor. I'm not one to shoot the messenger. Out with it. Said messenger grimaced, took a deep breath, and barreled on. There's been an incident. He'd always liked the snow. So ephemeral, so soft, so transient, a reminder of the past and a promise of the future both. Right now, Naruto found himself reluctantly tending toward the latter. His spy's report, rather the information had been good. He dearly wished it hadn't been. It had led him to death. To 4 tombs. Graves. He took them all in slowly, and made his assessment. It proved a grim one. A family had been slaughtered here, a large one, judging by what he found within their home. Butchered in coldest blood. Red still stained the snow. There were footprints near their graves. 2 pairs, one smaller than the other. Someone had buried them, bid their goodbyes, and walked away. He knelt before the snowy graves, placed his hands together, and bowed his head. I'm sorry. If I'd just been a bit faster, you might still be alive. A hand burst out the snow and grabbed his ankle. He quirked a brow down at it. Ho! Someone, a girl? Burst out the grave and tackled him down, snapping and biting at his throat. She was wild. Strong. Starving. And reckless. He pulled her into his arms. They yelled at him, wailing and crying. Pity kicked at his chest. Sometimes one became a demon quickly. Within minutes. But not always. Sometimes it took hours. How long had she laid there under the snow? You poor thing. He patted her head, uncaring as the poor wretch thrashed like a hellcat in his arms. You suffered all this time. The newborn demon screamed and bit his shoulder. He let her, clamped a hand down on her head to hold her in place. It was hard, wasn't it? She screamed and tried to eat him still, thinking he was a human, utterly ignorant of the blood flooding her mouth. It hurt, didn't it? A grunt of pain escaped him as she twisted from side to side, savaging his neck. Losing everyone like that. I can't imagine the kind of pain you're in. But it's all right now. The change came quickly. He felt the nameless demon girl stiffen in his arms, having drunk too much of his blood. In a matter of moments, she was one of his. Why, you ask? She hadn't asked at all, but he kept talking, if only to keep her calm. Because I am here. I won't let anything happen to you. I promise. Bright slitted eyes shone with tears, pouring down her face now. Her voice was a pained rasp. It hurts. Kill me. Naruto tooted softly and held her close. I will not, dear girl. She slapped at him, claws tearing into his chest. Kill me. No. He held her tighter, preventing her from hurting herself or him. What's your name? Do you remember it? Names always helped, after a human turned. It helped them cling to their identity. It wasn't like turning one of NeonZangetsu. With them at least, he had a template to use. But humans were ever fragile creatures and prone to breaking. Sometimes they forgot who they were after they changed. Sometimes they repressed it, and the horror that had first led them to change. Really, it was like flipping a coin. One had no way of knowing how it would land until it did. When this one looked up at him blankly, he feared the words. I. He tilted his head just so, and gave her a nudge, trying to prod her along. I don't know. Horror dawned in her eyes. She grasped at her face. Who am I? A/N. Who is this girl indeed? Is it Tanjiro's mother Ki, or his other sister, Hanako? One possibility is correct. The other is not. Feel free to guess. Next chapter title, By 3 They Come. If you're a Diablo fan, you'll get the reference. If not, you'll be surprised. Someone shoved Diablo 4 at me. Never really heard of the Diablo series before. At all. Now. It's giving me ideas. Ideas I'm trying to resist. Well? Are you not entertained? Should this remain a story? Yay or nay? Gotta let me know for the update schedule, you know. As ever, the Embers rule persists. If folks don't like this tale, then I'll not continue it. I can't bear to write something folks don't like, and working 2 jobs on a near back-to-back basis leaves my energy at an all-time low. So by all means, speak up. Raise your voice. Make yourself heard. Reviews are the fuel that sustain me and my team in these darkened times. So in the immortal words of Atlas, review, would you kindly? No previews. I haven't the heart for them. I'm so very tried these days. No, I'll still try. I have to try. Previews. Edit. Really, we all know who this is. You're soft on them. Perhaps. Naruto ran a palm over one of her many horns. But tough love isn't always the best. Sometimes you have to let the chicks leave the nest. She scowled at him, wings twitching at her side. You doubt my methods? After all I've done? All I have given you? Not so much the methods as the, let's say, intent. What do you hope to gain from this? She turned stern eyes on him. You know full well. I want that which was denied me. And you'll have it. He took her hand, a kiss on her knuckles. I keep my word. Her expression softened. Just a touch. You have so far. O ye of little faith. But that's cheating. You said you'd keep your word. And I did. I honored our agreement to the letter. But not the spirit of it. How so? How is this what I wanted? No. I did everything you asked and more. I never asked for this. Yes. You did. You think to warn me? You dare. This ain't a warning. He tossed the torch over his shoulder. It struck the tarp and burned it away. Sunlight snarled through. This is a war. Mikago blinked. A slayer. Zenitsu blinked back. A DD demon? An ominous silence stretched between the two cowards. And then the screaming began. Zenitsu screamed. A demonun? Mikago screamed right back. A Humaman? You must be Tanjiro. It's so nice to finally meet you. There's someone here who dearly wants to meet you. Hey, old man. I have a pet. Daki, that is a human. Not a pet. Nah, she's mine. I saved her, she swore herself to me. Makes her mine. You gonna make her a demon or what? Smile, interlude. Who is this adorable little creature? We're keeping her. Tell me we're keeping her. Naruto fought down a small smile as Tamayo absolutely gushed over their newest arrival. It was to expected, of course. After all, it wasn't every day he brought a newborn demon home. Hanako had swiftly become was soon the talk of the family from the moment she first clung to his hand stubbornly, never once letting go. Everyone seemed to genuinely delight in having her added to their ranks. It was something he'd hoped for, prayed for, wished for, but he hadn't expected it to go quite so smoothly. Yet it had, and the family seemed better for it. Now if he could just figure out who the traitor was. If they were here today, they were doing a fine job at hiding their true colors. Everyone seemed keen to meet the new arrival, and while there were a few baffled looks, none had voiced their discontent as of yet. Ha! What's a brat doing here? This ain't no place for a kid. Perhaps he'd spoke too soon. Probably jinxed himself with that last bit, frankly. He plastered a smile to his face and palmed the little one off to a flummoxed Daki as he faced the sole voice of dissent. Is there a problem, Sukuna? Always smile. Always keep your guard up. Always leave them guessing. The demon in question pushed himself off the nearby wall, refusing to take his seat in a subtle display of defiance. Of course there's a problem. She's weak. Akaza rolled his eyes and clasped both hands behind his head in his seat. Here we go. A goblet bounced off his skull. Quiet, you dirty snack stealer. You stole my meal. Susamaru scoffed at them. Not his fault you played with your Hashira. An eye slid her way. What was that for arms? She crooked a finger his way. Did I stutter? Cheeky brat. And here I thought you didn't have a death wish. You wanna go? Now. Naruto let them bleed their squabbles out for a moment, and stood by as Tamayo gently interposed herself between them, taking the chance to get his bearings. Sukuna had ever been a rabble-rouser, even 100 years ago. Really, the only reason he wasn't up there with the big three was because he simply didn't care to try. Everyone knew he was one of the strongest among the ranks. What need had he to prove himself? His constant desire to antagonize or troll others was a slightly worrying mindset, but he'd rather have him with them than against them. Better the devil you knew than the one you didn't, as the saying went. You didn't object like this when I brought Daki and Jotaro in. He felt, rather than heard the duo preen a little behind him. Not so Sukuna. Because they had potential. The man's retort, and his smile was just as sharp. What can this one do? Hey! Daki handed Hanako's off to Tamayo and shot a glare his way. Don't be rude, she's just a kid. Even you were young once. Silence. A single word had her cowering where she sat, then Jotaro with her. Your betters are speaking. You're mean. All eyes turned to Hanako, surprised to find her glaring bloody red daggers at the disaster demon. Stuck her tongue out. Ho? Sukuna leaned down to consider her. You have nerves of steel, I'll give you that. Multiple eyes slid Naruto's way, skewering him where he stood. Are you saying she's strong after all, then? She's freshly turned, so yes. Sukuna stepped forward to leer at him. How strong, exactly? Strong enough to survive being buried alive and tear a chunk out of me. Interesting. Sukuna thumbed his chin, considering. But maybe you've just gotten weaker. He frowned down at him. That sounds like a challenge. Is it? Maybe. Tamayo sighed and stood, drawing Hanko up with her. I'll just go get Lilith then, shall I? Before you two break everything. Sukuna sneered. Go ahead, get the horn, bitch. I don't care. And in a flash of realization, Naruto understood. Aha, there it was. He'd gotten bored. Small wonder he was stirring up shit. Probably hadn't had a good fight in ages. His emotions were an open book to him. Insolent, yes, but not treacherous. Well, that eliminated Sukuna as the traitor. The bastard didn't care enough about anything to try and interfere. Although he had thrashed Akaza for taking his prey. He'd met and turned him so long ago that he forgot sometimes. He ate whenever he liked, tormented those he found interesting, and above all, he loved to fight. If you think I'm so weak, then fight me for leadership again. He crooked a finger his way. Unless you're afraid. Akaza sprang out his seat. Oh, let us get out of the way first. A grin split Sukuna's face. Ha! Bring it on! Naruto twisted to the right, pivoted, and drove a fist into his comrade's ribs. Sukuna took the jab with a grunt and rocketed backward through a wall. Then another. 3 more now. Naruto lowered his still steaming fist and looked toward the Sukuna-shaped hole. Had enough? An insane cackle was his only warning before the rebel stirred. Not even close. Rather than retreat, he opened his arms and let Sukuna barrel into him. Their world dissolved into a scarlet slurry of blood. A/N scene. Next time, by 3 they come. Well? Are you not entertained? Should this remain a story? Yay or nay? Gotta let me know for the update schedule, you know. As ever, the Embers rule persists. If folks don't like this tale, then I'll not continue it. I can't bear to write something folks don't like, and working 2 jobs on a near back-to-back basis leaves my energy at an all-time low. So by all means, speak up. Raise your voice. Make yourself heard. Reviews are the fuel that sustain me and my team in these darkened times. So in the immortal words of Atlas. Review, would you kindly? No previews. I haven't the heart for them. I'm so very tried these days. No, I'll still try. I have to try. Previews. They say good things come in 3s. The funny thing is, they're right. You think to warn me? You dare. This ain't a warning. He tossed the torch over his shoulder. It struck the tarp and burned it away. Sunlight snarled through. This is a war. You're soft on them. Perhaps. Naruto ran a palm over one of her many horns. But tough love isn't always the best. Sometimes you have to let the chicks leave the nest. She scowled at him, wings twitching at her side. You doubt my methods? After all I've done? All I have given you? Not so much the methods as the, let's say, intent. What do you hope to gain from this? She turned stern eyes on him. You know full well. I want that which was denied me. And you'll have it. He took her hand, a kiss on her knuckles. I keep my word. Her expression softened. Just a touch. You have so far. O ye of little faith. Mikago blinked. A slayer. Zenitsu blinked back. A DD demon? An ominous silence stretched between the 2 cowards. And then the screaming began. Zenitsu screamed. A demonun? Mikago screamed right back. A humaman? You must be Tanjiro. It's so nice to finally meet you. There's someone here who dearly wants to meet you. Hey, old man. I have a pet. Daki, that is a human. Not a pet. Nah, she's mine. I saved her, she swore herself to me. Makes her mine. You gonna make her a demon or what? By 3 they come. Naruto stumbled down the stairs, idly toweling off his hair as he went. Funny thing about demon blood, it was a pain to wash off. Still, it had been a fight for the ages, even to warm his blood and more. Sukuna had lost 2 arms, but the wily bastard would grow them back in the fullness of time. Moreover, he'd reminded the younger demon of his place. And speaking of places, you wanted to see me? She stood at the balcony, overlooking the setting sun, refusing to look his way. While it was true his demons were immune to sunlight, she preferred the dark for her hunts, and was seldom about because of them. Her ashen skin and blackened horns stood in silent testament to that, only further proof of what she truly was, easily visible through her blood-red dress. Tonight both her wings were tucked tight against her back, her cold, mismatching eyes narrow as she stoically faced away from him. Yet for all that, he could sense the tension in her shoulders, see it plain as day. She'd demanded, to see him for a reason after all. He had an inkling why. I understood you recently took in a child. Yup, called it. I did. He moved to stand beside her, idly watching their soldiers drill below. Poor, precious Hanako. Everyone loved her. Really did have to reunite her with her family, though. Why haven't I been permitted to see her? He laid a hand atop hers. She only just arrived. In an instant the winged monarch rounded on him, fangs bared. Don't lie. I'm not lying. He took a hold of her face and guided it into his chest. Easy now, no need to be so paranoid. She growled, claws digging into his chest. You're soft on them. He tooted, kissing her forehead. Someone has to be, Lilith. Don't go pulling a hair on me now. Nonsense. I'm nothing like her, says the mother. She hissed a little and clawed at him for that, angrily biting his shoulder in a fit of pique, but otherwise made no move to escape his grasp. Not that she could mind you. She was the 6th lord, only just below Sukuna. He just finished thrashing the latter. She couldn't hold a candle to him in terms of raw strength. Perhaps. Naruto ran a palm over one of her many horns. But tough love isn't always the best. Sometimes you have to let the chicks leave the nest of their own accord. She scowled at him, wings twitching at her sides. You doubt my methods? After all I have done? All I've given you? He laughed. Not so much the methods as the, let's say, intent. What do you hope to gain from this? She turned stern eyes on him. You know full well. I want that which was denied me. And you'll have it. He took her hand, a kiss on her knuckles. I always keep my word, don't I? Her expression softened. Just a touch. You have. For now. Oh, ye of little faith. Oh, ye of little faith. Naruto teased with a low chuckle, his lips curling into that easy grin Lilith found so infuriating and yet so reassuring. You don't doubt me, do you? He stood beside her on the balcony railing, dusk's orange glow painting the pair in warm light, wearing that infernal smile of his. Lilith's dark eyes narrowed, her clawed fingers tightening on the stone balustrade. She despised how he could make her heart lurch with just a few words. A frustrated huff escaped her. How dare he make light of this? But he always did, didn't he? He claimed to be a doctor above all. His philosophy was more to heal than harm. Many of his followers espoused such a philosophy. Others, like her and Hera, did not. This isn't about faith, she snapped quietly, turning her face away from the setting sun and from him. Her black wings gave an agitated twitch at her back. It's about reality. You took in that girl as though she were some lost kitten. Hanako. Her voice wavered ever so slightly on the name. You're coddling her. Sooner or later, she'll have to fend for herself or risk becoming a monster. We all will, if we're weak. Naruto tilted his head, regarding the horned demoness calmly. Hanako won't become a monster, he said, gentle yet firm. He leaned forward, forearms braced on the railing, close enough that Lilith could feel the warmth radiating from him. Not under my watch. She's just a child, Lilith. What kind of man would I be if I didn't give her a chance? If we didn't give her a chance? Lilith's jaw tightened. She refused to look at him, instead focusing on the distant tree line beyond the estate. A chance to what? Have a normal life? She's a demon now. The word came out bitter on her tongue. No matter how you try to sugarcoat it, Naruto, nothing will change that. Eventually. The hunger will come. The bloodlust. And then. She trailed off, unwilling to voice the dark outcome she imagined. Yes, their kind were superior to those of that wretched parasite Muzan. Even so, they faced struggles of their own. And theirs were far more deadly. A silence fell between them, broken only by the faint rustle of Lilith's wings as they folded and unfolded restlessly. Naruto's gaze never left her, blue eyes thoughtful. The orange of sunset had faded to a purple twilight, shadows creeping in. In the gloom, Lilith's silhouette, her curving horns, the outline of her wings, looked every bit the monster she believed herself to be. And why shouldn't she? She was honest with herself, if nothing else. A trait many of them lacked. Why hide what made her strong? Naruto straightened and moved just behind her. Gently, he reached out and ran a palm over one of Lilith's many sharp horns, just as he'd done moments before. The touch was familiar and almost comforting, a gesture that made Lilith's breath hitch despite herself. You worry too much, he murmured. Tough love isn't always the best approach. Like I said, sometimes you have to let the chicks leave the nest on their own terms. Lilith whipped her head around to glare at him, golden hair lashing behind her. Don't spout proverbs at me, she growled. I've done everything you asked? Everything. I've hunted down traitors, trained the fledglings, fought by your side without hesitation. Yet you would call me out for being too harsh? You broke a girl's leg just last week. She was staring at you. I saw the lust in her eyes and taught that whore her place. You should be grateful. Hera would have killed her outright. Naruto exhaled harshly, eyes sparking blue for a brief moment. Why are you like this? Because I must be. Her voice trembled at the edges, anger and hurt bleeding together. In truth, her fury wasn't just about Naruto questioning her methods. It was fear. Fear that he was right, that she was too harsh. That perhaps she was incapable of being anything else. Naruto's expression softened at her outburst. He held up his hands in a placating gesture. I'm not questioning your loyalty, or everything you've done for our family, he said evenly. Believe me, I appreciate it all. I know you only want what's best for us. But I wonder, why does taking in one child bother you so much? What do you hope to gain from being so opposed to this? Lilith's eyes flashed. For a heartbeat she considered feigning indifference, or deflecting the question. But his gaze bore into her, gentle yet unwavering, inviting honesty. He always did this patiently, peeling back the layers of her defenses. It was infuriating. And it made something in her chest ache. Damn him and his philandering ways. Damn him for being so honest. Damn her for loving him. She turned fully to face him, her back to the balcony's edge now. You know full well what I want, she said at last, voice low. Her next words came out almost in a hiss, each syllable laced with longing and pain. I want that which was denied me. The moment those words left her lips, Lilith felt exposed, as if she had accidentally peeled away her armor and revealed a raw wound. Her mismatching yes searched Naruto's face, trying to gauge his reaction. Did he truly understand? But Naruto did not look surprised. If anything, his smile turned sad and fond all at once. He stepped closer, closing the distance between them until he stood barely a foot away. Lilith had to crane her neck slightly to meet his eyes, curse his height. And you'll have it, Naruto promised quietly. His tone held that simple conviction that always simultaneously comforted and infuriated her, because some foolish part of her always believed him. I keep my word, Lilith. You should know that by now. He reached out and gently took her hand. Lilith's claw-tipped fingers tensed as his larger hand enveloped hers with warm strength. Slowly, he raised her hand and pressed his lips to her knuckles in a soft kiss. Her eyes widened, a faint gasp escaping before she could stop it. No matter how many times he disarmed her like this, be it with a touch, or a kind word, she never saw it coming. Her cheeks warmed, and she thanked the encroaching darkness for hiding what she was sure was a telltale blush across her pale skin. Naruto lowered their joined hands but did not release her. Have a little faith in me, he said, his voice almost a whisper now. You've said it yourself, I haven't let you down so far, have I? Lilith's throat worked wordlessly as words refused to come. She recalled all the times he had followed through on his promises since she joined him, words both big and small. He had given her and the others a home, a purpose beyond mindless slaughter. He had kept them safe from the sun's deadly rays, freed them from Muzan's curse, given them hope that they might reclaim what they had lost. He even gave us Hanako. The stray thought drifted through her mind. A child's laughter in their halls, something she never thought she would hear again after. Lilith banished the memory before it could fully form, blinking back the suspicious sting in her eyes. Her fingers curled reflexively around Naruto's, clinging to his warmth. Realizing this, she stiffened and tried to reclaim her hand, embarrassment quickly flaring. Humph. She turned her head aside. You've kept your word so far, she admitted grudgingly. But that doesn't make me any less concerned. That girl. Her hand was still in Naruto's grasp. He gave it a reassuring squeeze, prompting her to meet his gaze once more. That girl will be all right, he said firmly. She has all of us to guide her. To protect her. Tamayo will keep her well fed on what she needs without resorting to extremes. She won't have to hurt anyone. Not if we can help it. And one day, when it's safe, I'll reunite her with her family. She tooted, imagining the scene. Hera might not like that. You know how she is about children. Particularly half-bloods. Which was silly, really. Naruto's blood was pure, watching away the impurities of Muzan's false demons. Really, it was just a matter of pride. You leave Hera to me. Lilith searched his face. His eyes shone with that stubborn compassion she had come to know so well. Naruto genuinely believed in what he said. She could hear it in his voice, see it in the slight quirk of his lips. He had already decided this was how things would be, and when Naruto Uzumaki decided something, the world itself bent to accommodate. Her wings sagged slightly, tension draining by degrees. Part of her hated how easily his earnestness chipped away at her arguments. Perhaps that was why she felt compelled to voice the uglier truths, to test the limits of his optimism. We are what we are, Naruto, she said quietly. Demons. No matter how you dress it up. Hanako is a demon now, as am I. As are you. Not quite, Naruto interjected lightly, one corner of his mouth lifting. You know I'm a special case. Lilith rolled her eyes. Trust him to crack a joke about his own bizarre condition. True, Naruto wasn't exactly a demon like them, at least not anymore. He was something their progenitor, unique, straddling the line between human and demon in a way none of them fully understood. Even so, the technicality did nothing to ease her turmoil. She pulled her hand free at last and crossed her arms over her chest, holding herself as if suddenly cold. My point stands, she continued, Hanako can't change what she is. I can't change what I am. Her gaze dropped to the floor, a rare moment of vulnerability overtaking her features. You speak of faith. But I lost faith in myself long ago. Perhaps I can learn to control the hunger. Maybe Hanako can too. But that won't erase the things I've done. Nor the monster I've become. The last admission came out barely above a whisper. There she had said it. The truth gnawing at her core, laid bare at his feet. Lilith's claws dug into her own arms, bracing for. She didn't even know what. Disgust? Agreement? She almost wished he would confirm her worst beliefs, tell her yes, she was beyond saving, because then at least her heart wouldn't ache with this damnable hope he kept giving her. But of course, Naruto did no such thing. In a blink, he closed the small gap she'd re-established, stepping right into her personal space. Before she could protest, she felt his calloused hand cup her cheek. Lilith went rigid. Her golden, cat-like pupils widened in shock as Naruto gently tilted her face up. Her mind registered the warmth of his palm against her cheek, the clean scent of him filling her nose, the utter sincerity in his eyes as he spoke. You're not a monster, Lilith. She opened her mouth to argue. She had a retort ready, a litany of her sins and the blood on her hands. But the words died in her throat as Naruto leaned in. His lips pressed against her cheek, right at the high point just below her left eye, in a featherlight kiss. Lilith's entire body froze. Her wings flared out involuntarily with a soft thwump, and every last one of her many horns seemed to tingle. The cheek he'd kissed burned, heat spreading across her face like wildfire. For a woman often wreathed in an aura of cool menace, the sudden surge of warmth was utterly disconcerting. Naruto drew back slowly, his face still mere inches from hers. He lingered close, his breath ghosting over her skin as he continued, voice steady and kind. You're not a monster, he repeated, locking eyes with her. Not to me. Never to me. Lilith's heart slammed against her ribs in a staccato of rapid beats. She could scarcely remember how to breathe, let alone formulate a response. Of all the audacious, ridiculous things this man had ever done. Her paralysis broke in a burst of flustered outrage. Lilith stumbled back a step, pressing against the railing for support, as her knees felt alarmingly weak. "Why, you insufferable, incorrigible!" she spluttered, one hand flying to her cheek where the impression of his lips still tingled. How dare you?" Naruto straightened, scratching the back of his head with the hand that wasn't still lightly resting on her waist. When had he put it there? He had the gall to look slightly confused by her reaction, as if he hadn't just. "How dare I, what?" he asked, blinking at her with faux innocence. But the teasing spark in his blue eyes gave him away. He knew exactly what he'd done. Lilith's face burned hotter. She dropped her hand from her cheek, clenched both fists at her sides, and bared her fangs in a show of irritation. "Why, you know what?" she snapped. "Damn you, Naruto, you can't just kiss me like that out of nowhere." He had kissed her hand before, sure, but this was entirely different. That had been a courtly gesture, almost playful. This felt far more intimate, more real. It was too much. Her heart was thudding wildly, and she loathed that he could elicit such a reaction from her. Naruto offered an easy smile, entirely unrepentant. "I was making a point," he said lightly. Then, before she could launch into another tirade, he stepped back and gave a short bow, as if concluding a business meeting. "Thank you for bringing your concerns to me, Lilith. I'll take them under advisement." Lilith's mouth hung open. A strangled sound of disbelief bubbled up. He was dismissing her now? After that? She snapped her jaws shut, fixing him with the most withering glare she could muster. It was an expression that had sent lesser demons cowering. Naruto, of course, only chuckled. He turned to go, but not before reaching out and flicking one of her horns in a familiar, almost brotherly gesture, were it not for the fond look in his eyes. "Try not to worry so much," he said over his shoulder. "You'll get wrinkles." Lilith was so scandalized by the absurdity of that statement. Wrinkles, honestly, had she momentarily forgot her indignation about the kiss. By the time she recovered enough to form words, Naruto was already walking back inside, whistling a jaunty little tune as if he hadn't a care in the world. The glow from the corridor lights briefly outlined his form before he disappeared down the staircase, leaving her alone on the balcony. The demoness remained rooted in place, a myriad of emotions warring within her. Her first impulse was to chase after him and give him a sound smack upside the head for his impudence. And yet, she raised her fingers to her cheek once more, tracing the spot where his lips had touched. The warmth was still there, heating her far more than the final rays of twilight ever could. A slow, conflicted sigh escaped Lilith's lips. Damn that man. Even now, anger and embarrassment swirling in her chest, she could not stop a small smile from tugging at the corner of her mouth. It was fleeting, gone in an instant as she forced her expression back to cool indifference. But it had been there. "Imbecile," Lilith muttered under her breath, though there was no real venom in the word. Her wings rustled as she turned back toward the landscape beyond the balcony. Night had fully fallen, the stars peeking out in the clear sky. She took a long breath, collecting herself. Maybe he's right, she thought reluctantly. About Hanako. About me. If Naruto Uzumaki thought she wasn't a monster, then just maybe it was true. At least, maybe it could be true someday. He was the one person she trusted to chase an impossible dream and make it reality. Lilith allowed herself one last soft exhale, releasing the remnants of her earlier anger into the cool night air. Then she squared her shoulders, regaining her usual proud posture. There would be time to puzzle out these strange, fluttering feelings later. For now, she had a reputation to maintain. A fearsome sixth-rank demon couldn't very well be seen with a goofy smile plastered on her face, after all. With that thought, Lilith swept away from the balcony, vanishing into the shadows of the manor with only the faintest whisper of wings. Tamayo tooted softly and leaned back from her perch on the rooftop above. Honestly, he's such a philanderer sometimes. Still, she could respect Naruto's spirit if nothing else. Everyone here loved him, in their own way. Hanako poked her head over her shoulder, a green bamboo gag fixed firmly over her mouth. Poor girl was drooling again. Adorable little Tyke was currently clinging to her back like a spider monkey. She gave her all the trust one would their mother, pure and innocent as only a child could be. Almost made her want another one. Almost. One on the way was quite enough for now, thank you very much. Yes, yes, she reached back to pat the girl's head. I'm sure you're hungry, little one. Let's find you a bear to hunt, shall we? Hera's still cross after you consumed her crows. The girl perked up. No. Tamayo flicked her nose. No birds tonight. You'll choke on a bone. Nezuko's little sister slumped and made a disappointed nose behind her muzzle. I know you don't like wearing that, dear, but it's only temporary. You'll master your hunger soon enough. Elsewhere, on a moonlit road winding through the woods, two travelers happened upon each other by chance. Some might say call it an accident, others, the will of fate itself. Regardless, it would soon prove unfortunate for both. Mokago trudged along the dirt path at a brisk pace, darting nervous glances over her shoulder every few steps. The night was quiet save for the chirping of crickets, but that did little to soothe her frayed nerves. Being away from the others, away from the safety of Naruto's family, left her feeling exposed and vulnerable. She hated it. But Naruto had asked her to deliver a message to a contact in a nearby village, and she hadn't dared refuse. She owed him her life. Still, every rustle of leaves or snap of a twig sent her heart into her throat. Calm down, me, she hissed at herself for the umpteenth time. Nothing's going to jump out at you. And even if something does, you can kill it. She repeated it like a mantra, clutching the small sealed letter in her hands. Rounding a bend, Mokago suddenly froze. A young man was walking toward her from the opposite direction. In the shafts of moonlight, she saw a shock of orangish hair, a yellow haori patterned with white triangles, and the blood drained from her face the distinct uniform of the Demon Slayer Corps. A Demon Slayer? Zenitsu Agatsuma had been trudging along in a fog of his own anxieties when he nearly collided with the pale figure rounding the bend in the road. He noticed her eyes first, wide and faintly luminescent, and then the small horns protruding from her head. It took him a second longer to register the claws, the slight aura of menace, and the fact that this girl was very much not human. For a moment that felt like an eternity, the two just stared at each other in mutual, mounting horror. Mokago blinked rapidly, panic rising in her chest. "A.S. Slayer," she breathed. Zenitsu's jaw dropped. "A DD demon?" he squeaked. An ominous silence stretched between them as their brains struggled to catch up. Both of them began trembling, Zenitsu's knees knocked together, and Mokago's teeth chattered. And then, the screaming began. Zenitsu let out an ear-splitting wail. "A demon!" he hollered, face white as a sheet. Mokago shrieked just as loudly, stumbling back a step. "A humaman?" They proceeded to scream in each other's faces for a solid 3 seconds, either attacking, just yelling in raw terror. Finally, the combined volume of their screeching overwhelmed even their own ears. Zenitsu's frantic cry devolved into high-pitched gibberish why me, before his eyes rolled back. With a soft thud, the orange-haired slayer collapsed in a dead faint, a little cloud of dust puffing up around him. Mokago had clamped her hands over her ears at his initial shriek. Now, as the echo of their mutual outburst faded into the night, she lowered them cautiously. She stared at the prone boy on the ground, chest heaving. Had he passed out? She remained frozen in place, legs like jelly. "Run!" her instincts howled. "He's down! Get out of here!" Yet she couldn't seem to make her limbs obey. Her mind was too busy reeling. This boy was a demon slayer, one of the very humans she'd been taught to fear. And he was here alone, unconscious at her feet. Did that make her the dangerous one right now? The thought was almost laughable given how scared she felt, but her survival instinct nagged at her. If he woke up, would he try to kill her? Probably. That was their job. Mokago swallowed hard, her throat bone dry. Perhaps she could take advantage of this moment. If she eliminated him now, before he woke, she might save herself. She certainly didn't relish the idea of picking a fight, but if he regained consciousness, he'd have the advantage. Slowly, on wobbly legs, Mokago crept towards Zenitsu's limp form. He looked young, not much older than she appeared, not that a demon's appearance said much about age. There was a trickle of drool at the corner of his mouth. He was out cold. She almost felt bad for him. He must have been absolutely terrified to faint like that. Not that she was one to judge. Sorry, she whispered preemptively, raising her clawed hand. She winced, shutting her eyes as she prepared to bring it down on his exposed throat. I have to do this. Before she could strike, a sudden shift in the air made her eyes snap open. Zangetsu moved. One moment he was flat on his back, the next he was on his feet in a fluid motion, as if pulled upright by invisible strings. Mikago lurched back in shock, a tiny eep escaping her lips. How was he standing? His eyes were still closed, yet he was upright and was that faint electricity crackling around him? Zangetsu inhaled deeply, sliding his right foot back and bringing his hand to his sword hilt in a practiced motion. Though fast asleep, his body had instinctively assumed a Batajutsu stance. In the silent night, the change was terrifyingly dramatic. Gone was the cowering boy, and in his place stood a swordsman poised to strike. Mikago's courage collapsed like a house of cards. Whatever notion she'd had of taking him out first evaporated as she felt the dangerous energy gathering around the young slayer. She scrambled back, fear overtaking her once more. And no, wait! She yelped, not even sure what she was pleading for. With a flash of steel and a burst of thunder, Zangetsu vanished. Mikago's eyes went wide. In the blink of an eye, the boy had lunged forward with blinding speed. She felt a sudden sting on the side of her head, accompanied by a rush of displaced air, then silence. Zangetsu now stood behind Mikago, legs apart in a finishing posture, sword extended. Thunder breathing, first form, thunderclap and flash, he mumbled in his sleep, completing the technique. Mikago remained rooted in place, heart pounding. Slowly, she turned her head. Zangetsu was facing away, his blade glittering under the moonlight. For a second, either of them moved. A thin lock of Mikago's dark hair drifted down in front of her eyes. Attached to it was a small horn, one of her horns, sliced clean off her head. It landed on the ground with a soft plop. A shallow cut stung across her temple where the horn had been severed, and a warm trickle of blood ran down the side of her face. If Zangetsu's sword had been even an inch lower. Mikago didn't dare finish the thought. The unconscious slayer let out a soft sigh. The threat neutralized, at least as far as his sleeping mind was concerned. Zangetsu's stance relaxed. His knees buckled and he slumped down, catching himself with one hand on the ground. Still asleep, he had expended a great deal of energy in that single flash. His breathing turned shallow as he knelt there, head bowed. Mikago was shaking like a leaf. Her demon blood was already working to close the cut on her head, but she barely noticed the pain. She was too consumed by the realization of how close she'd just come to death. The feral spark that had spurred her a moment ago was gone, replaced by plain, undiluted terror. In conclusion, Paniadiaether. She let out a strangled whimper. This boy could have killed her in an instant, and she wouldn't have been able to do a thing about it. The fact that she was still standing was nothing short of a miracle. She was too terrified to be angry. The fear blotted out all else. Oh gods, she was gonna pass out. Across from her, Zangetsu shifted, emitting a groggy mumble. He slowly lifted his head, eyes fluttering open at last. For a moment, he looked disoriented, as if unsure where he was or why he was kneeling on the ground. Then his gaze focused on the trembling demon girl in front of him and on the sword unsheathed in his own hand. Memory came back to Zangetsu in a rush, or at least he filled in the blanks. He jerked upright, scrambling back from Mikago so fast he nearly tripped over his own feet. Wild panic filled his eyes. Demon. I was fighting a demon. Did I fight? He noticed the severed horn lying in the dirt between them and yelped. I am sorry. I didn't mean to, I probably did, but please don't kill me. Zangetsu babbled, holding his sword out in front of him with both hands. It wavered wildly. He was clearly more scared than intimidating. Mikago just stood there, clutching the side of her head where one horn used to be, her face a picture of shock. She barely registered his words. She was still coming down from the life-or-death adrenaline high. Seeing that she wasn't currently attacking, Zangetsu paused his shrill apologies and gulped. Truce? He ventured in a tiny voice. We don't have to keep fighting, right? His legs were trembling so hard it was a wonder he remained upright. Mikago blinked, finally processing that the Slayer was cowering? Just like she was. Her lips parted in disbelief. Slowly, she gave a shaky nod. Truce, she agreed. No fighting. They both exhaled, each astonished that the other had agreed so readily. Zenitsu lowered his sword a fraction. You're not gonna eat me? He asked, voice still quavering. Mikago managed a weak, hysterical little laugh. I don't even want to. I never wanted to fight at all. She threw her hands up, exasperated and fearful all at once. I was just scared you'd kill me. That's the only reason I tried. She gestured feebly at the horn on the ground and the faint blood on her claws, then let her arms drop. Zenitsu's shoulders sagged in relief. I was scared too, he confessed with a wail. I don't even like fighting demons, it's terrifying. Tears pricked at the corners of his eyes. I just want to get home alive. Mikago wiped at her own eyes, which had grown misty whether from fear or from the sting of her injury was hard to say. And me too, she sniffled. Then, realizing how ridiculous that sounded coming from a demon, she hastily clarified, I mean, not home exactly, but I have people I don't want to leave behind either. Zenitsu dared to straighten up a little, lowering his blade fully. The two regarded each other in the moonlight, a demon girl with a missing horn and a demon slayer with a tear-streaked face, both thoroughly shaken and clearly not eager to continue their battle. So, we're just going to pretend we never saw each other, right? Zenitsu suggested, voice hopeful and trembly. Mikago bobbed her head quickly. Yes, please. I won't tell if you won't. Deal, Zenitsu agreed at once. He fumbled to sheath his sword, nearly dropping it in his haste. Once the blade clicked securely into its scabbard, he held his empty hands up to show he meant no harm. A heavy silence followed as they stood there, unsure how to properly part ways after such an encounter. Zenitsu coughed lightly. I guess I'll be going then. He took a hesitant step backward down the road, not quite turning his back to her. Mikago shuffled her feet, equally unsure. All right. She edged away in the opposite direction, toward the dark woods from which she'd come. They inched apart, eyes locked in mutual distrust that was slowly melting into mutual relief. Zenitsu mustered a strained smile and lifted a hand in a wobbly little wave. Take care, he stammered. And, please don't go eating any humans, okay? The words tumbled out awkwardly, half genuine plea, half nervous joke. Mikago managed a weak smirk at that. Only if they promise not to kill me, she retorted, in a similarly awkward attempt at humor. With that, the two turned and finally put their backs to each other. Zenitsu broke into a brisk trot down the path, eager to be far away from this whole fiasco, while Mikago darted into the underbrush, disappearing into the shadows toward Naruto's estate. As the distance between them grew, both felt the tight knot of tension in their chests slowly unwinding. Zenitsu's panicked muttering to himself, "Why does this stuff always happen to me?" gradually faded into the night, just as Mikago's hurried crashing through the bushes grew distant. Soon, the quiet of the forest settled once more, as if nothing at all had happened on that lonely moonlit road. Nothing happened. Nothing at all. Nothing. A/N. Hello Lilith from Diablo. Zenitsu and Mikago were a delight to write. Had a good cackle writing this scene. Hope you enjoyed. Well? Are you not entertained? Should this remain a story? Yay or nay? Gotta let me know for the update schedule, you know. As ever, the Embers rule persists. If folks don't like this tale, then I'll not continue it. I can't bear to write something folks don't like, and working 2 jobs on a near back-to-back basis leaves my energy at an all-time low. So by all means, speak up. Raise your voice. Make yourself heard. Reviews are the fuel that sustain me and my team in these darkened times. So in the immortal words of Atlas, review, would you kindly? No previews. I haven't the heart for them. I'm so very tried these days. No, I'll still try. I have to try. Previews. They say good things come in threes. The funny thing is, they're right. You think to warn me? You dare. This ain't a warning. He tossed the torch over his shoulder. It struck the tarp and burned it away. Sunlight snarled through. This is a war. Tanjiro froze. That scent. That smell. He raced after it, lashed out, reaching for the man's shoulder. Imagine his surprise when he beheld him. You must be Tanjiro. The blond man who was most assuredly not Muzan beamed at him. It's so nice to finally meet you. There's someone here who dearly wants to meet you. Hey, old man. I have a pet. Daki, that is a human. Not a pet. Nah, she's mine. I saved her, she swore herself to me. Makes her mine. You gonna make her a demon or what? Thanks for watching. I hope you had as much fun as I did putting this epic what if together. Make sure to smash that like button, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you never miss a single twist in the story. Drop your thoughts, theories, or even wild ideas in the comments. I read every single one. And hey, if you're craving more awesome Naruto content, go check out the other videos on the channel. I've got plenty of heat waiting for you. Until next time, stay sharp, stay awesome, and remember, even a shadow clone needs love. Peace out.